Hi folks, welcome back to another short video, and today I'm going to take you around an installation that we've just completed in this Mercedes CLS. So this is a slightly earlier car, which means it runs on the sort of more traditional speaker setup which you'd find in most cars. So that means it has a woofer in the lower door and a tweeter that sits higher up. Now that traditionally is how most cars would be. Most German brands have gone over to this kind of new configuration where you have a actual subwoofer up front and then you just have a mid and tweeter on the top of the door. So a later Mercedes would have a 6.5 inch or 8 inch woofer up there and one on the other side if it's equipped with hi-fi, and then in the door it would just have a mid here and a tweeter here. So that's the later configuration. Unless, of course, it's an A-Class, in which case they've gone back to this. So this is a slightly earlier car, traditional 6.5 inch and a tweeter, and we've done, obviously, a huge amount of soundproofing in those front doors, so we've stripped those right down, taken the regulator panel off, soundproofed the outer skin, the back of the door card, the regulator panel, and then we've used like a sound absorber panel behind there too, which I might be able to show you a picture of. We'll have a look in a second. To get the tweeter in, we've needed to remake this top panel. So there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, physics. The tweeter would be too big to go behind the original panel. But number two, even if we could get it behind there, it's facing the wrong way, and the grille in this case would be quite restrictive. It isn't always, but it is in this case. So this is made of fiberglass. So we've taken the original back plate and fiberglass this mold onto it to create this rather funky looking little tweeter build there. See if I can show you the other side. And as you can see, like from the driver's position, you know, it's great. It's pretty much dead on axis, which works really well. Not 100% necessary, because actually the response of a tweeter is very similar, up to about 30 degrees off axis. But in this case, we've got them nicely lined up. The system itself comprises of Audison amplification in here, actually. So we've got a pair of Audison SR amps. We've got a 4-channel amp running the front and back components, because this gent wanted plenty of sound in the back as well for when he's carrying his rear passengers. And then we've got a monoblock amplifier which runs a custom subwoofer. Let's take you around the back and show you that. So there are the boxes. So we've got the SR 4.500. So that's a 4-channel amplifier running fronts and backs into 4 ohms, approximately 125 watts per channel. So it's a pokey little amplifier. Then we've got the 1.500 there, which is actually running a subwoofer. Now it's a 2 ohm subwoofer, so I believe this amp produces about 800 watts RMS. So again, it's a pretty pokey amplifier. There's the box for the Audison Voce components, which are obviously in the front doors. We've kept the standard rear speakers, but we have soundproofed and treated the rear doors. It makes a big difference, even with factory speakers. We've created a custom subwoofer, so the boot in these have got a little bit of a funny hump in the bottom. It means that a traditional box wouldn't go in there, or it would, but it would be sitting out in the middle of the boot. So we've fabricated this rather funky enclosure. I can't see it that well, but we've made use of every little bit of space we can, so it nips right back there and is tight up against the back seat. To retain it, as always, we've installed some riv nuts in the cross member, and then we've put proper bolts in there. So I think it's a couple of M8 bolts that bolt that in. So you can just undo this if you ever want to get it out. Once you release those 2 bolts, the sub will tip and it'll come out. The 2 amplifiers are located behind here. They're on a rack, and in fact we've future-proofed it a little bit, because this customer opted not to have a DSP, but just in case he ever decides that he might want a DSP, we created a space in there ready to get it in, so it could be upgraded to a DSP system at a later date. Well, I have to say, for a non-DSP system, sounds pretty incredible. The bass is incredibly strong, as you'd assume, but there's tons and tons of mid-bass from the front, and actually, bearing in mind we've got no time alignment between the subwoofer and the front components, the bass is dead in time, the phasing's spot on, and there is a ton of mid-bass up front, and as you bring the sub in, it blends in perfectly. So really, really pleased with the result. I'm just waiting, it's Saturday morning, I'm just waiting for my customer to come and collect it. The car's been valeted, it's been for our valeting bay, so it's all nice and shiny. We try and do that whenever we can. We can't always do it, but quite often we can, and it just adds that lovely little touch. So there you go. If you've got a slightly older Mercedes on a more traditional platform, i.e. the 6.5 inch components up front, this is a kind of system that we could install for you. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, drop them in below. I'll try my best to answer them as quickly as possible, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see lots more content just like this.